Well, one thing you may be thinking, you know, as you work with your foam, is that, well, gee, you know, I've been tearing at this foam and kind of got it what I want to look like, but then there's all these these little pieces, these little hanging chads of foam all over the place. Use a beaten to death expression, and you kind of like, well, that doesn't really look realistic, does it? Well, the nice thing about foam is that once you've got your basic surface cut out and the big piece is vacuumed away, all you need to do is just rub over it with your hand. Just rub over it and pull those little pieces off, and in doing so you get more natural looking tearing of the foam and stuff that, well, looks like more rock like in its outcroppings, like that. You know, so if you got these little pieces of foam hanging on, you just rub your hand over it, over your outcroppings, and don't be worried if more foam comes off in the process, because you may end up something that looks more natural looking that way, you know, rather than it looks like, gee, it looks like someone tore into this with a ruler or a Surefoam rasp, you know. So, because you got these little pieces of foam hanging on there, and you just kind of rub over it, you know, and you just work all this stuff off. And so you end up with, and then of course, you know, I'll be throwing some grass on here. I mean, just going over it lightly, you know, with some dilute glue, and then dropping some grass or soil on there, and then loose rocks, and gluing it in place. So that's what I got going here. Let me think about where I'm going with this before I do any more. And it's time to vacuum some of this stuff up. It really comes in handy if you don't have the money for a big shop vac. It's this little sucker, a little PowerMate vac there, rechargeable. I mean, yeah, you may be charging it 2 or 3 times, you know, a day, but you know, you just kind of save all your vacuuming for last. You know, you put all your big pieces of foam, you know, in the garbage, and then just use this sucker to clean up, and it's definitely comes in handy for cleaning up these kinds of messes. So let's see. As you can see here, I ran into a situation where this layer of foam wasn't properly glued down to the layer beneath it, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. First of all, we can fill it in with spackling, but secondly, it gives me the opportunity to create an outcropping that has an undercut right in there. So if you ever come across situations like that, you can use sometimes lines that form between the layers to your advantage, you know, as far as when you do your rock carving on. So you don't want to do it all the way across. It looks pretty obvious that there's a couple of pieces of foam glued together. Now over here, I ended up with a sort of a natural, what would you call it, swale or valley. And what I'm going to do is create a culvert and then have it drain out through here. So what I'm going to do now is start cutting through this layer and have it go, make like they put the track in, they cut through this swale. It's going to continue on down this little not swale, ravine, bad word. Wrong word, not a bad word, but wrong word, ravine. I'm cutting here is a ravine. So, kind of have it naturally continue through, and I might make it pretty deep, and cutting it fairly deep. It could look like it's a, some of those ravines you see in the mountains are extremely deep, so I use the corner of this and just start to dig. Got plenty of foam to work with here, 4 inches of it, so I can go ahead and have a lot of fun with this scenario. So I think you kind of get the idea. So I mean, what you want to do is try to make it look like the track is the unnatural thing, and this is what dominates the scene, you know. So you want to model a ravine, you want to make it look like the track came through and cut through, but you want to have it continue and follow on through. So everything looks more natural. Excuse me. Okay, yesterday I kind of tackled this side of this hill here, and I'm going to go ahead and start shaping this part here. And I think naturally where these two chunks, two pieces of foam form a natural ravine there, so I think I'll go ahead and start here. And where you got a situation where, excuse me, you have two pieces of foam butting up against each other, and you got this little gap here. You can always fill it in with either some spackle, or else, you know, with some of your soil that you're gonna put down here. I'm trying to get my arm in the way. I think yesterday's session you got some good shots of my arms, so probably isn't something you wanted to see if you weren't eating your dinner at the time and then lose your appetite, you know, or that, or something like that. You know, not that hopefully my arms aren't that grotesque. So yeah, I'm gonna start rounding this down and get this little chunk here to blend in with this bigger piece here. Work on that first. Get it to blend first, and then if I want to put some, dig something out here, I can still do that. So yeah, all you do is you take any kind of sturdy object you have and just dig, and you can make a nice little cliff face there. Maybe a very small, low cliff, but you wouldn't want a hiker to fall down there. That would cause some distress. This off some. Get this somewhat of a nice shapely hill in here. Like that. And like I said, you know, you want to glue put your general shapes in place.